The hard truth. This learning series is about hard truths Black women, especially those working in human resources, diversity, equity, inclusion, or DEI, social justice, education, nonprofit, government, basically any leadership type of role. There are several hard truths that we are going to need to be honest about if we expect to see any change. And I want to take this conversation very specifically to Black women working in HR, DEI, or other leadership roles, because it is those of us who have the most influence, not only with white people, so we think, but we have the most influence with other Black people. And we are really doing ourselves and the rest of the Black community a disservice in our centering of whiteness. So, okay, let's talk about it. First and foremost, Black women have been the longest and hardest working members of our entire caste system, the global caste system, because it is Black women who have been forced to breed labor. So not only do we have to do everything, but we also had to birth the labor force. And for the last 500 plus years in America, people have utilized Black women as the mule. And for the last 80-ish, 75, 60 years, Black women have acquiesced to this, unnecessarily so, but because of the programming and the conditioning that we have been subjected to. So that's what we're going to talk about. We are going to talk about the programming and conditioning that Black women have been subjected to, which is why we center whiteness. So we have been programmed and conditioned into centering whiteness, centering white people, holding and organizing around white-centric narratives since they put us on ships and kidnapped us and brought us to America and the rest of the Caribbean, the rest of the world, South America, since they kidnapped us and took us across the pond, right? Across the Atlantic. And since that time, Black women have been in survival mode. And we literally are still in survival mode. Now, are there some Black people thriving economically? Yes. There is about 130,000 families that are thriving in America, Black families, right? If you do the math. And that's not much. 130,000 out of millions and millions of people is not much, because there's somewhere around 50 million Black people in the United States, if not 60 or 70 million Black people. I mean, technically, probably could be 80 million Black people are probably in the United States, if not 90 million. So why would there only be 100,000 millionaires, right? And there's 1,200 millionaires created each year, by the way. And so if you think about how Black people, Black women, were used to breed labor, right? And here we are, 500 years after the time we got here, and the Black net wealth is still less than 1%. But yet Black people will say, oh, well, we got to vote. It's important to vote in your local election. Who is your city council person? Who is your mayor? Who's your school board superintendent? Who's the fire chief? Who's the police chief? Who's the sanitation chief? Who's the postal chief? Do you know any of those people? So what is the point of voting in a local election? Have any of them people ever helped you when you had a problem with your kid at school? So we have been conditioned into believing and tricked into believing that we're supposed to take part in all of these things because all of these things work. Because all of these things in somehow are in some benefit to us. When at the end of the day, because Black people only had 1% net wealth in this country, even though we worked for 600, 500 years for free, because we're still working for free now because they never gave us everything that they stole from us. So for the 310 years of absolute free labor, and now for the last 200 years, we ain't been making shit. We haven't been making anything. And now we're making 56 cents on the dollar. So, how did this happen? How did black women get to a position where we believe that DEI works, we believe voting works, we believe Christianity works, or Islam works, or whatever religion works? How is it that we got caught up into this? Well, we got caught up into all of this nonsense, all these beliefs and ways of thinking because of the trauma that was put on us. Everything goes back to trauma. Everything goes back to trauma and how we have been treated. Everything goes back to the fact that we had to watch our children be raped and killed and sold and fed to alligators and beat and lynched and burned and brutalized. I think about how my mother made me start doing household chores at the age of 4. And by the time I was 6 years old, let me tell you, I could clean a house for the Queen of England. I could clean a house. I know how to soak chandelier crystals and vinegar and polish. I know how to do all that shit by the time I was 6 years old. Why would a 6-year-old know how to clean a house like a professional cleaning service getting ready for a Thanksgiving gala? Why would I know how to do that? It's because that was in our DNA. That's in our blood memory. That's what our parents and grandparents and great grandmothers and great great grandmothers and great great, that's what they did. They cleaned house. They went around white people, chasing them, begging them to do shit for us. That's what we did. And the result of it is 12 generations into our DNA, we are still trying to keep white people from killing us. We are still trying to keep white people from beating us. We're still trying to keep them from kidnapping and feeding our kids to alligators. What do the alligators look like now? Alligators look like the Mississippi police station, right? Behind the Mississippi police station, they got 215 bodies. Do you think one person killed 215 people and buried them by themselves? Black people are hated. Black women are hated. But they keep on using us to bring more black people to the surface, right? To bring more black people. Now they are stealing us and harvesting our body parts. And here we are doing DEI work. Here we are on the internet trying to convince white people of black history, of our humanity. And basically, they helping each other bury our bodies behind police stations. Black women, it's our job as mothers, whether we have birthed a human being out of our coochie hole or not. It is our job as black women to speak life, to bring life. But that has to start with us. We cannot be out here telling white people what y'all need to do, what they need to do, blah, blah, blah. Number one, they don't care. They haven't cared for 500 years. And they're not going to care for another 500. Black people have to focus on ourselves, our own community, our own development. But black women got to focus on us first. Y'all, we have to recover from this shit. We have to rest. We have to recover and get some kind of respite. We need financial respite. We need emotional respite. We need psychological respite. We need physical respite from all of the trauma. We got to get some healing. How do we heal from this? We only going to heal when we are able to decenter white people and white-centric narratives. We're not going to be able to do anything until we get white people out of our lives. Our central thought. Now, they own 99% of everything. Well, it's like they own like 96% of everything. Asian people own like 2%. And we own less than 1%. So what does that mean? That means you have to start assessing how whiteness shows up for you. What does whiteness look like in your life? How do white-centric narratives and white standards and pursuits of whiteness, how does that fit into your life? What does that look like for you? What does it look like for you? Because I'm going to tell you, it looks like the designer clothes that you wear. It looks like that church you go to. It looks like them tithes you give out. It looks like you, you know, preaching Jesus and believe